Social round of applause for our guest today, Sean Hibbler. Sean, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
So, Sean, you're a filmmaker of some renown out of Chicago. Tell us a little bit about yourself to the audience and let us know where you're from, etc.
Yeah. Born and raised in Chicago. I was there for the first 30 years of my life. 2014, my mom passed from cancer, and that was my awakening. That was the kind of I was already awakened to 9/11 and a few rabbit holes and things like that, the normal stuff, the fake moon missions and all that. Because of my mom, to be honest, we were never vaccinated. None of my siblings. My mom made sure none of us had jabs throughout my whole life. So I've had zero to this day. So she was an OG truther for sure. But when she passed, it kind of blew my mind. And that was the first death in my life. And I was already 30. So it was like, what is going on? And I went down the cancer rabbit hole and found out how much they lie about cancer and how much they make money off of it. And they don't want to cure it. So I started going down that rabbit hole. I started looking into the food she was eating and how it causes cancer. And I'm like, well, I don't want to eat this stuff anymore. And I don't want to, I want to get organic, clean food. So in the process of that, remember back when YouTube would give you related videos that were, actually related to what you're looking for. That's when it happened. Eric Dubay, all of a sudden. I was
going to ask, was he the one that woke you up?
Kind of, yeah. Well, I woke myself up, man. But at the same time, he was a beginning aid to it all. I was looking at, again, just videos on food and things like that, and then one of his videos, it wasn't even Flat Earth related, kept popping up, something about eating raw plant-based food and stuff like that, healthy food. And I watched it. And then because I watched that one. Here comes 200 proofs the Earth's not a globe. It just kept coming up, and I'm like, "What the heck? Like, what does that even mean?" And I didn't even fathom it. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my brain goes, "Wait, your mother would tell you as a child." Because I would take home the the styrofoam science projects and stuff, and she would get so bent out of shape. Oh, this is not the way it is, and the sun's not in the middle, and what are they doing in school? And I as a kid, I'm just like, man, she's weird. I'm like, well, just help me, help me with the project, Mom. Like, I'm trying to get an A, and she would always have a problem with this science stuff. So it kind of hit me, and I'm like, let me watch this video. So I watched the video, and I was blown away. I was like, oh man, I as an adult, I'm like, I never ever thought of this. Never once did I even go back in time in my mind and think about a globe spinning. Or it's kind of like they get you off of that train once you're out of school because they don't want you as an adult to critically think about it. They just want you to just remember when you were a kid. Yeah, you love the ball. Keep that route in your brain. So I started dissecting Eric's video. And I'm like, you know what? There's some truth to this, but you know what? Let me not fall in this rabbit hole. I was still in this cancer thing, and I'm like, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole right now. But in the process, I couldn't get out of my head. I just kept thinking about it. It was like my mom was drilling it in me from above. So what I did personally was I just went to NASA's website, and little did I know it was a .gov. I'm like, oh, it's government. I'm like, man, I didn't even know that. So I was like, okay. I'm like, let me look at NASA's website. Just let me get out of this once and for all. Let me go find some, at that time it was 2014. We all had modern tech at that time. Then it's kind of similar to what we still have. It's, good quality cameras and just good technology. So I was like, okay, so NASA by then, I'm like, they have to have some POV, cameras on their aircraft as they're traveling and they're avoiding the space junk. And I'm like, let me see what I can find. And that was many nights without sleep because I'm like, they don't have anything, like nothing. They don't have anything that sells me. Like I was literally waiting to be sold. Just a couple videos, a couple images photographs, anything that I was like, okay, that's legit. I trust my senses for that one. Everything I stumbled upon was obviously, as most of you probably know, it's just BS. So it was a crazy time for me. And in 2016, I started putting, I don't know, maybe the end of 2015 is when I released Truth Does Not Fear Investigation. So I was into sports in Chicago, big sports head, not anymore. But I mean, for most of my life, that was my addiction, was sports, especially in Chicago, being a Cubs fan, being a Bulls fan. I mean, a lot of people in America grew up with, their superheroes, their Superman, their Batman and all that. I had Jordan. So I grew up with Michael Jordan. So that was my superhero. I didn't get into any of that stuff as a kid. I was always watching the Bulls. So as I was producing music for a while in Chicago, and then I started getting into videos, and I started doing sports. I was working for a small company in San Diego that would pay me, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be my career. They want highlight videos and hype videos and things with professional sports teams that like ESPN would dump their footage to me, and I would go through it and make stuff. So Hibbeler Productions, most people don't know this, but the channel I had in 2014 and even going into 2015, I had nothing but sports stuff with tons of views, and people loved my work. And once I started to make Truth Does Not Fear Investigation regarding the Earth, I'm like, I can't waste my time with sports anymore. Like I have to keep making videos like this, because I saw the feedback and the comments and the people saying, oh my God, this was amazing. This just woke me up. One video woke them up. I'm like, that's not good. You got to keep researching. You shouldn't let one video wake you up. But I was taking my talents and putting them to something useful. So I literally deleted all my sports stuff. I just got rid of it. I stopped watching sports, and I went all in on these rabbit holes. And I said, you know what? After making some of these YouTube videos that were usually 20, 30 minutes long, and the feedback I got and the views I got and the comments and the likes and the emails and the thank yous I got for so long, I'm like, I need to shift even more now. I need to take it from these small little YouTube videos and say, because if you think about it, the YouTube videos are flat earthers coming on mostly, right? Especially in the beginning, they're flat earthers joining, saying, we love this. You're amazing. Oh my God, I'm showing my family this video and all this stuff. And I'm like, I need to do something different though. There's got to be a way that I can make videos or films, which is when I shifted into feature films, not for you guys, not for flat earthers. No offense. I need to make them for our neighbors or our cousins or our sisters, whoever thinks we're crazy. I need to focus on them, because this group over here that supports me and loves me, I love them, but they're already awakened to it. Okay. So I don't want to produce films for them. They don't need them. But the people that call you crazy, they're going to need them. So that's when I started working on Level. And of course, I called Eric Dubay right away. I'm like, hey, you deserve this title. I'm going to write a script for my first feature film, Level. And would you mind narrating it? Because I already knew the way he was such a recluse, and he ain't going to be on camera. Like, hey, he's not going to let me come to his house and, use his bathroom. That's Eric Dubay, man. Not everybody is very open. Some people are very private, and I can respect that. But ODD TV as well. That was another big influence, because
that's what I was going to say, Sean, about it is in 2021 is when most of us see you burst onto the scene. And there were some great people in there, like say ODD TV, Eric, Dave Murphy, Santo, all of these good people were in that movie. And it was more of a, like you say, a general understanding of the flat earth cosmology.
Yeah. And I was trying to put something together again that we can show the people in our lives that either think we're crazy or they're in the middle, right? Like, yeah, you guys make sense, but I need something more, because for me, it was the biggest problem for me was when I was sharing Eric Dubay stuff back, and I'm not talking crap about him. I'm just saying, I'm just being realistic. When I was sharing his videos with people, I was trying to wake up. I mean, they'd be yawning through the first 10 minutes, and they're like, no, their brain can't focus and just unlearn to relearn while he's blabbing and showing, slideshow of pictures. Too boring for them, in my opinion. because they're used to Hollywood. They're used to movies and entertaining documentaries and music and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I can do that. I'm going to start making stuff, if you want to call it Hollywood-esque. I hate Hollywood, but I'm trying to give you the example. You need to give them what they're used to. So I was trying to, kind of be the most unique filmmaker in the world in my mind, because I'm trying to take truth and entertainment and put them together. And in my mind, I was like, I don't think I can even do that, but let me try. So, when Level came out and did really, really well, I'm like, okay, we have to make a part 2. And that's when actually I'll just be honest with you guys. I reached out to Eric. I'm like, hey, this was during like the airports were being weird with the COVID pandemic and all this stuff. And his excuse was, no, you're not gonna be able to get here. I think he was in Bangkok at the time. I'm like, I'll get there. I'm like, don't worry about me getting there. Are you ready to be on film? Because I want to come see you for the sequel. I don't want narration. I want you to be on camera. We're going to do it the right way. I'm going to get better equipment, better lenses, everything. He still declined. So I was like, okay, Eric. He's like, but I'll narrate if you want. I'm like, I just told you I don't want a narration on this one. I don't want narration on this one. But God bless. So that's when I went right to Dave Weiss. I went to the next in the line. And I was looking at Dave Weiss at the time. I'm like, man, this, for me at least, I'm like, this guy is the rookie of the year. I'm sure he's been around before that. But for me, he was brand new. And I'm like, man, this guy's really kicking butt out there and waking people up. I used to watch his shows all the time. And so I reached out to him, and that was a no-brainer. He's like, yes. Come to Connecticut. And he's like, sit down with me in Connecticut. Yes. He's like, we're going to do this. So then I'm like, ODD. I'm like, you want to meet me out there? And us three will get together and we'll come up with some ideas and we'll get the second one going. And then I couldn't get to Santos. There was something going on in Mexico with him. And so I paid a videographer out in Mexico to sit down with him. And I gave the videographer my questions to ask him. And same with Martin Leakey, Flat Earth British. I couldn't get out there. It was just way too much money. I mean, my film budgets were at that time were like 20 grand. So like that barely covered it, American flights and hotels. So it was difficult to get international stuff going. I'm like, yeah, I don't have the budget to come all the way to Martin, So I worked with what I had to work with at the time, but the support was so big that I'm like, I can keep going bigger. I'm like, I don't want to do this for financial gain. I just want to be able to do it though. And you need finances to travel and to have a hotel and to have a car rental. Until there's a free version of it that you guys tell me about, that this is just the way it is. So that
was in 2022, wasn't it?
The next level was 2022, correct. And then I it's not that I took a break from Flat Earth. I started going into, I'm like, you know what, people are getting jabbed and they need to know about these. And so I made a film, Fluvid-19, and which helped a lot of people. I got clearance from, Eddie Bravo, Jim Brewer to use footage of them, Sam Tripoli. So I'm like, okay, so I was trying to do this for the pandemic and help people, which I helped a lot of people in my personal life with that film that said, we just watched your film. We're not going to go get our jabs now. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, that's why I made it. I wasn't making it I'm just making it to tell the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts. So, and then I got right back into Flat Earth. I'm like, okay, if I make a part 3, which was called Level With Me, I'm like, if I make a part 3, I need to do it different. I can't just rely on the flat earthers that, our neighbors never heard of. Does that make sense? Like my neighbor doesn't know who they don't know who Santos Bonacci is. They don't know who Dave Weiss is. They don't know these people. So why would they watch it? Right. Like meaning on their own. Yeah. So I said, what can I do? I'm going through my phone book. I'm like, I know Bryce Mitchell. He's a big UFC.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was the Bryce Mitchell, Eddie Bravo, and all the rest of it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I started thinking outside the box, and I'm like, maybe if I get some big names in the next one, people will watch based on their fans of them. I love Eddie Bravo. He's in a documentary. I'm going to watch the documentary, right? They don't even know who I am, nor does it matter. They know him. Or they love Bryce Mitchell. It's my favorite fighter. He's in a documentary. Then I started seeing the press. That's why I'm like, I knew this was going to work. Now UFC's printing out stuff with Bryce Mitchell's crazy flat earth in a documentary, Level With Me. I'm like, thank you. Now this whole organization that has millions of fans can either they're going to go, I want to watch it because I like Bryce, or I want to watch it because I hate Bryce, or flat earth is stupid. It doesn't matter the reason. They're going to go watch it now. And that was the best feedback I got on anything I've ever done, was Level With Me. I mean, it was from all angles, emails, teachers, doctors, nurse. I mean, everybody was like, this just blew my mind. And I'm like, this is a good strategy to try to get, but I want sincere people. I'm not just going to go to someone that's famous and say, hey, can you say the earth's flat on camera? No. Like, you're a real flat earther and you're a celebrity, right? Mm-hmm. It was a win-win for me. And I kind of, I felt like it was a no-brainer for them too, because I mean, Bryce Mitchell told me himself that the reason he's a flat earther is because of me, because of my YouTube videos. He was always watching everything I put out. Real Lies. I had so many. The Greatest Deception. All these little YouTube videos that had hundreds of thousands of views. I didn't know that popular people were watching it and popular people were waking up to it. And I didn't know I had that power. Once I found that I had that power, I utilized it. And I said, okay, we're gonna change it up a little bit and get more eyes on this. Because I feel it's important to not only, I mean, I'll always cater to the flat earth community, and hopefully make them proud. But my job is to wake up the people that are not flat earthers. Now, can I do that with the people that are way on this side? Like, they're still wearing a mask today, like walking their dog, like they're wearing their mask. Like, you're still playing this pandemic game? No, like nothing's going to help them, unfortunately. But it was the ones that have heard of flat earth, and they were more like, yeah, I mean, I get it, but I just can't, they just couldn't get out of this funk of, I think it was just, they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be made fun of in their family or whatever. So I started to put these films together for that reason. And I think I've been doing a good job at it, and I'm going to continue to thrive for that. Eventually we'll have another flat earth documentary, but right now my focus is chemtrails, because I think it's a problem that the people have a power, at least in America for sure. Like, we have the power to change this, because we're very powerful as people, right? And they don't want us to know that. So I think something with chemtrails is it's just important right now. I want blue skies. You guys want blue skies.
We all do. But that, just going back, Sean, just a bit, the Level With Me was in 2023. That's when you flew down to Mexico, and we had some dinner and some tequila, and it's nice to meet you. And I nearly got a part in that film, but I didn't. But I do want to draw your attention to 2024, which was a film you did, which in my mind, I still think it's on a par with Occupied, but we'll come to that in a minute. I think Old World Order was one of the best films I've seen, full stop, let alone the fact that I was in it, just so you know. And so were some of you, because it was all, some of the video footage was taken at our old Flat Earth Social. And of course, Martin Leaker was speaking with us at that time, and that video was you. I think that most Flat Earthers go through, they understand Flat Earth, and then there's everything else, right? What else is a problem? And of course, Old World Architecture, we have Sven here, who studies that a lot. He's going to be speaking with us all here in April. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And I think you did a great job with that film.
Thank you. Yeah. That was kind of after Level With Me, I'm like, well, what can I do now? And it wasn't that I didn't want a part 4 of a lot. I'm like, I made 3 flat earth documentaries, and each one is completely different. Each one covers different topics, because there's a lot. I mean, you can make 10 flat earth films technically, but I tried to compress them all to cover the basis, so you can show family and friends or neighbors or enemies, whoever you're trying to wake up. So I had a lot of truthers in the community, like, you got to look at the old world. And this was during Level With Me. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, I focus on the topic I'm filming, right? So when people are in my ear about the old world and I'm filming for Level With Me, I'm like, shh, no. I'm like, I'm focused on this. I don't care about that. I'll look at that later. And I didn't really know anything about it, to be honest. So I went in pretty fresh with my research. and I was pointed in the right directions. You know, John Levi and Martin Leakey and just others, Autodidactic. There was a lot of channels that I was watching to kind of gather the information and go, well, I know history's a lie, and we all know Columbus didn't discover America, so they still. You know, they tell people in school that. So I'm like, okay, well, history's definitely a lie. Rockefeller's lying. They changed the school books. They pulled the flat earth maps out of the libraries. So I kind of had a good understanding of history and the lies. So once I started going down the old world rabbit hole, man, I mean, it's like,
It's amazing.
It was like flat earth all over again for me. It was just what? So, and I always approach it the same way, guys. I look at the mainstream narrative and I go, okay, let me prove this right. And I failed to do that. And I started to use common sense with the old world because I would just pick on random old world buildings that they say, oh, this is an old world building, Hibbeler. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to look at John Levi's version of this first because that's skewed, right? I'm going to look at what does Rockefeller say about it? What's the mainstream narrative on this? And I'm like, built in a year? I'm like, wait a minute. These guys are on horses and donkeys, and where are they getting the marble from? I looked at the year and 1892. Oh, the marble's in Spain, but this building was built in North Dakota. I'm like, what? None of it was making sense. So that one, especially Michelle Gibson, she was a big help with that research, and she would point me in the right directions because she knew that I didn't want any skewed opinions. I just wanted the facts. I just want the facts. What's going on with this building or that building or why? And I'm like, okay, what's the point of lying about this? And then I look back and I'm like, there's my mom again telling me as a kid that giants were real. Giants were real. And all that started coming back. And I'm like, okay, perfect reason to make up dinosaurs, because when they were populating America, it's pretty obvious that people were going to be digging up bones in their yard or just finding bones. And what would be a perfect excuse? Men in black come to your house and go, hey, we need those. That's a Tyrannosaurus Rex leg or something. And in reality, it was a human limb. So I started looking at old newspaper articles, and I started to find so much evidence that they would find human giant bones and dump them in the ocean. And this is what started the Smithsonian. They needed to create a corporation to take control of this because it was getting out of hand in the early 1900s. People were finding so many giant bones. So yeah, the old world order, man. I mean, that's just, that to me, that's my first film where I felt, well, on the level with me maybe, but like this one was like different because, when we walk outside, we know the earth is stationary and flat, but it's hard to capture on film, right? If the brain is brainwashed to think they're rotating around the sun. The old world, like when I met up with my lunch break, Kenny Loudon in Chicago, I was glad to go back home, and I just went into the museum. And I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is insane. Like, why are these doors so big? Why is there a window in the top of a door on the ground? I'm like, it was like living in the moment of waking up to it. And, and if you see the film, you see the security guard there. He was kind of hassling us. I didn't record that. I didn't show that part. But you guys can't be in our film. I'm like, yes, I can. And I explained to him legally why. And then he was okay. And then we befriended him. And then I just started getting information out of him. He started telling me that, they do sweeps in the basement and he can hear the water splashing against the walls. And I'm like, wait a minute, what floor are we on right now? I'm like, but when I walked into this museum, I thought we were on the first floor, but apparently this was the fourth floor. So it goes down. It goes down. And then he told me that someone that worked there for 40 years who just retired, I wish he was there, but he told me the story. This guy was completely unbiased. He didn't know what was going on. We're just talking to him on camera. And he said that the guy that used to work there said that there's underground tunnels to all the older looking buildings. Let's just call them old world buildings in Chicago. And they all connect under the ground. And I'm like, wait a minute, that would take years to build. Like when was this in the blueprint I'm looking at the blueprint of these museums, and that's not what they're talking about. And they're also saying that they're built in a year or two. And it's like the Dunkin' Donuts down the street from my house that they just built, it took 4 years, and it's a 1-story ugly square building. And it reminds you, these are, advanced construction workers who went to school for it and had full crews and modern tech, machinery. Still took 4 years to build this building from A to Z. Well, you look in the 1800s and it's like these guys are on donkeys. There's absolutely no school of architecture back then. Didn't exist. And the mainstream story that we usually get on some of these older buildings is, in America at least, is that slaves put it together. So now you're talking about people that have no experience in architecture that are building the most beautiful buildings I've ever seen. It's just a big fat lie. I mean, and there's a lot of reasons they lied about the old world. Obviously, previous civilizations, they want us to feel like we're the smart ones, and like people before us were just all stupid, and it couldn't be more from a lie. But I didn't really touch on the reset much in the film because I wasn't there, and I don't like speculating too much. I briefly mentioned it at the end of the film that there could have been some sort of reset and a mud flood and all this stuff. There is some evidence, photos that look like that's exactly what it was. But it's hard to really promote it for me because I don't know. I mean, I don't know when it was, what happened. So how do you really talk about that in a film?
Will you be doing a follow-up to that film, Sean? Will you be going slightly more in depth into the architecture and perhaps speculating? Is there something coming? Is there going to be a sequel to it?
I don't rule it out. It's not on my radar present day, but okay. I think if it's needed, if it's needed, I will. If I have that feeling that it's needed, but I do feel like the old world, even for some Globers, unfortunately, like they get it. It's kind of weird. It's like, you believe in a globe and that history, but they lied about this history. There's a lot of history they lie about, obviously, and I just feel like everything we're taught is a lie. So it's sad, but it's not that I want that to be the case. It's just that's kind of what I'm finding is that almost everything we're taught is a lie, and it's for a reason. You can't rule over people that are smarter than you. So the rulers know that, and they want us to be dumb and believe in lies, and they want you to, you came from a monkey and you're just floating on a ball and spinning mercilessly just through the galaxy, and your life means nothing, and it really sets up a distant God or no God, and when you think about it. So yeah, I mean, but I don't rule it out. I don't rule out another flat Earth one, but way bigger of a budget and way more science experiments, things that we can put together that cost a lot of money, unfortunately. But I'm trying to get there, everyone. I mean, it's one film at a time for me to gain a bigger audience and bigger support, because I don't have a team of people that just have millions of dollars to pay for stuff. I have to go find it. And it gets difficult at times because you're dealing with truth. People don't like that sometimes, and they don't want to put money behind it.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, but it sort of brings us full circle now with everything you've done. And your latest film that you've released, was it end of last year, beginning of this year, called Occupied. Now, I spoke to you about this film. Has anybody seen Occupied in here? If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you've not seen much of Sean's work, it's amazing feature-length films of the best subjects that you want to watch. And Occupied, I have to say, is the hardest half an hour of any film I've ever had to watch.
The first 30 minutes, yeah. The first 30 minutes are pretty bad. Do not.
And what's the film about, Sean?
Well, I can talk. All right, we're not on YouTube.
We're not on YouTube. It might go on YouTube, but I'll try and think the bits out.
Occupied, and I'm sure you guys have this problem over there in a sense. I haven't really looked into your country, but for this reason at least. But America has been taken over by dual citizenship. America politicians are not America first. They're Israel first. And it just so happens that, you know, Eric Dubé's always talked about Adolf Hitler and World War II and the lies regarding all this. And I didn't really give it that much of a time of day until I had a podcast called Level Headed Podcast for a year. Me, Tanner Stewart, who's Flat Earth Millionaire, and then Johnny Giampapa, my buddy, the tattoo artist in Level. And he was in Level with me as well. But we had a show on Rockfin. Now, Rockfin was, when it came out, was supposed to be this, you know, uncensored, say whatever you want platform with complete free speech. And I'm like, okay, let me put my show on Rockfin and we could talk whatever. You know, you don't really have to worry about who you're interviewing or what they say. We had Eric Dubé on, and that was hard to do. Trust me. Try to get Eric Dubé on your show. Good luck.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So Eric said, yeah. And, you know, the World War II, which I was really unaware of during that show, I was trying to listen to Eric and I'm like, really? You know, you could see my reaction. Like, I didn't know that. And I'm learning on the fly. He's just talking about World War II and Hitler and the lies. And then, you know, we're sharing the screen and then the show, and then we talked about flat earth. We talked about, you know, giants and a little old world stuff. And so the show's over, right? I already promoted it, that it was coming. Everybody's waiting for Rockfin. Oh my God, they talked to Eric. We haven't seen Eric in so long. I upload it. Within 24 hours, Mr. Free Speech Rockfin took down my show and gave me an email and said, hey, you broke our terms and conditions. We had to remove your episode. I'm like, wait, terms and conditions? What are you talking about? I'm like, you let me rip on vaccines last week. Like, what's going on? And I'm literally, and I mean this, I am so confused. I didn't even default to my brain to the World War II talk. I'm like, what's going on? And then they screenshotted their terms and conditions and they highlighted, you can't be neo-Nazi or something like that. And even at that time, I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, none of us were doing this, you know, like what are you talking about?
They saved that for presidential elections.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So once I realized what they meant, you know, because I had a lot of back and forth with the owner of Rockfin. And then he told me, you know, if you want to re-upload the video, you got to take out minute 21 to 48. And I'm like, 21? And that's an exaggeration. I don't remember exactly, but a certain time period. So I pulled up my video. I'm like, and it's all World War II. And I'm like, what's wrong when you're talking about World War II? What's wrong? Like, if we talked about World War I, it would have been fine. And he didn't reply. But ever since that day is when it struck me, you know, you can't talk about that. And I don't like being told that I can't talk about something. It's like, why? Why wouldn't I be able to talk about this? Like, if it was like, you know, Buddhists, right? They're Muslims, like no one gives a shit. They'll promote it. So, you know, it took me down the rabbit hole. I saw Europa, you know, the last battle, and I got through all 10 hours of it. And it's easy when you're flying, you know, a couple hours at a time. So I started to learn about all that, and I'm like, wow, it'd be crazy to make a film on this. Where could I put it? Nowhere. All right. Rockfin proved that. Imagine a film on this topic. There's no way. So I never even pretended to want to make a film on this until I met Stu Peters. Okay. So I love him or hate him, but Stu Peters, and he did a good job with Died Suddenly, and he's made the best film he's made, in my opinion, executive produce at least, was These Little Ones, which is about the trafficking of the kids and all that. Yeah. So I respected him as a producer. And we linked up. He actually helped me with Old World Order because I did not. The fundraising just stopped, guys. I'll just be honest. It started where I could do a few flights in my fundraiser, and it filled up 20%, and then it just stopped. And I'm like, how am I supposed to go see Dr. Narco Longo in Florida? I can't go to that flight. How am I supposed to take? I had no money coming in, and I'm like, crap. I might have to get a 9 to 5. Crap! Like, this was the goal, to not have to wake up and to an alarm and work for a corporation. And I was almost to that point where I'm like, I have to fund this myself. But I'm like, when am I going to have time to fly? How am I supposed to take off work? Like, it was just crazy. And Stu Peters just came out of nowhere. And yeah, he said, hey, I'll make you a deal. He's like, I will fund the rest of Old World Order, whether it's for equipment or traveling or hotels. It's on me if you can work with me on Occupied. He's like, I need you to make this. He's like, no one else can make this but you. I'm like, I am German. Like, I don't want to kill Jews. Like, they're just, in my mind, I'm like, they're just people that spin dreidels, and they're like Amish people to me. They stick to themselves, and they just hang out with each other. And I never had a problem with them. I don't really see him ever, but I've never had an issue. So like, I didn't want to be labeled as baby Hitler. It made no sense to me until I did research on Hitler. And then I'm like, I'm going to take this as a compliment now, because I didn't know, we were taught again in history that in school that this big bad wolf, the boogeyman, Adolf Hitler, was just throwing innocent Jews in ovens and torching them and just doing this and blah, 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 and screaming. And then I found out what he was saying, and he never said any of that. He never did any of that. So I looked, and I went really hard on research, because with this topic, you can't just go half-ass. You got to be careful. You want to get it right. You don't want to be wrong, because that could ruin the film. It could ruin your legacy. So I probably did the most research I've ever done on any film with this topic to make sure I was right. And man, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Brilliant film.
Thank you.
Brilliant film. If you haven't seen it, it really tells you what most of you sort of know already, but it puts a finer point on it. It's incredible. It's very good.
It was hard. It was hard, especially like you said, the first 30 minutes with the kids in Palestine, and just the death of innocent children and women and innocent men. I think everyone leaves that out too. Innocent men as well that are just getting their head blown off for no reason. So, the beginning of it was hard. So the first 25% of the film is, don't have children around. Don't even pretend like, oh no, they're fine. No, they're not. Then you're not going to really be fine for the first 30 minutes. But after that, we kind of pick up the pieces to shift off of Palestine, and we go right into 9/11. And that it was not a bearded man in a cave. He had nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with that. Even if he was real, Tim Osman, right, CIA. So. This was just a pawn guy, blame it on him so we can go to Afghanistan for 2 weeks and then somehow just go to Iraq and attack them. They had nothing to do with it either. Little did I know that Netanyahu was already talking about this before it even happened. And most people don't know that he wrote a book that was talking about the trade centers coming down, and, his hands are all over it. And he was very close with Bush Jr. So, we go down that angle, the dancing Israelis, and you got a group of guys from Israel that fly to America, set up their cameras on the Jersey Turnpike or across the bridge from looking out at the trade centers, and they're setting up their tripods before anything it blew up. So, and then when they did blow up, they're celebrating. It's like, hold on.
Terrible stuff.
And then they get flown. Most people don't know this. They did get stopped by the police because people were calling the police saying there's people dancing right now while these towers are falling. What the fuck's going, sorry about the language. What's going on? Go get these guys, investigate them. So they did investigate them, and they found out they were from Israel and they're Mossad, and they shipped them home. They're not arresting them in New York prison. So they shipped them back to Israel. And then little did I know, they went on a talk show in Israel when they got home.
Did they? I didn't know.
Oh yeah, they did. And a little bit of it's Occupied, but they were just saying that they were being questioned as members of Mossad, and they told the police in America that they were only there to document the event.
Wow.
Really? To document the event. I thought it was random. And then I started looking at the I didn't really touch on this in Occupy, but I'm not a believer in real airplanes going into the buildings those days. That's just me. I've seen a bird damage a plane. It just completely disintegrated the nose of it. But you want to tell me that it went through reinforced steel and came out the other side? No, it would have literally hit the building and crumbled. It just, yeah.
None of it made sense.
No, it didn't. It looks as if that was planned. I also, Larry Silverstein, the Jewish lizard himself. I put an interview in the film. A lot of people have never seen that, and he is trying to explain to the audience. He's in Israel at the time. He's trying to explain the script that he studied for many months of where he was when it happened, and he had to go to the dermatologist. You guys just got to see it. It's the word. I mean, it is what lying looks like on film. What lying would look like on camera is what he's doing. Nobody can believe him in his story. And then at the end of that speech, he says that they were planning to redesign the trade centers back in 2000. So it's like, wait a minute. So before they blew up, before you even needed to start to talk of redesigning them, you're already redesigning them. So he kind of exposed himself on that. And then from 9/11, we go right into Adolf Hitler and World War II stuff.
It sort of brings us back now to world leaders, Sean, to world leaders. And since we've had this, the last Flat Earth Social, you've got a new leader. What's the? I mean, I speak to Americans all the time, and we've all got our own thoughts about whether he's a different wing of the same bird. Is he the real deal? Whatever. How do you feel? What's your emotion on it?
Well, let me correct you. My leader's God. Always has been, always will be. So I don't have a new leader. But Donald Trump, unfortunately, when I see that he took $200 million as a donation from Marion Adelson, one of the biggest Israelite Jews in the world, during his campaign, I'm like, here we go. I mean, he had I look in 2016. I'll admit, I was never on the Trump train, but I was like, oh, finally, someone that's not a politician, that no government, he's another JFK in my mind. He just came out of nowhere. So, but I always thought he was kind of a clown growing up, just the Trump, the way he talks. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe he can make some change in America. And he talked a lot of shit and he never backed it up. So those first 4 years of putting Hillary in jail and doing this and doing that, he did nothing. He didn't drain any swamp. If anything, he surrounded himself by the swamp monsters. So when Biden got back in, I was kind of surprised. And I'm like, wait a minute, nobody would go out and vote for Biden. And they said he broke all the records of voting. And I'm like, no, this is all fake now. Like, I feel I might be different than most. I feel like Donald Trump it was a part of the plan. Let Biden go in for 4 years. And on day one, I can imagine Donald and Biden, they're all in the same room. On day one, we're going to make women's sports, let men be in women's sports and vice versa, and all this crazy stuff that Biden did. I feel as if it was a ploy to have this. I'm with Eddie Bravo on this. Like, Biden was acting. He ain't senile. He's not stupid. This and he's walking around. Where's ice cream?
Do you think he's acted? Do you? I honestly,
I do. Because there's moments. If you look throughout his last 4 years, there's moments where he is sharp as a nail during an interview. I mean, like sharp, like really, really sharp. But then the next interview, he's acting dumb. I looked at it as an act because the American people, even the ones that support him, the Democrats, they'll just, he's just old, But all the changes that happened in America those 4 years that were insane. It's like there's always been two genders. My point is that Trump comes in now. Oh, day one, there's two genders again. I'm a hero. No, it's like there's always been two genders. I feel like they implemented all these weird things for Biden. So this time around, when shit's going to hit the fan, Trump comes in to look like a hero and reverse all the stuff that he implemented, that they agreed on to implement. So he has reasons and distractions to keep people distracted, because now the truthers that are still Trumpers, they exist. Trust me. Even flat earthers, they're Trumpers. They look at it like, yeah, but look, he took out the GTQ of LBGT. Oh, yeah, well, that was a ploy to begin with. That was put here on purpose so he can remove them. Does that make sense? Like, they needed a false hero, but they also needed to fool the truthers. And I think that they're doing a good job, but eventually it's going to, I don't know, man. I mean, he swore his oath to Israel first before he even took office in America. His children are Jewish, converted to Judaism, married Jews. They got Jewish grandkids. He surrounds his cabinet with dual citizenship Jews. Let's just be real. He's hiring Israel first politicians. So I'm not for Trump because he's doing nothing and has done nothing to make me think he's on our side. No way. And for all the 7D chess people that are like QAnons, he's playing chess with everybody. It's sad that they still exist, and but I tell them, I hope you're right, because I keep seeing this tweet over and over and over again when I open Twitter of it, a QAnon drop from years ago that says save Israel for last. Okay. Now look, that's 1% of me thinks that's true. So 99%, it's all fake. It's all a ploy. But I'm going to keep that 1%. So I'm hopeful. Okay. But I don't have blind hope. But I will tell these people, these QAnon people, these Trump truthers, as I call them, I hope you're right. I do. I hope you're right. But I'm not going to pretend like you are, because then I lose focus on reality. But I hope they're right. I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. I think there's going to be a lot more distractions, a lot more false flags coming. And I think Trump took the big deal. His friend, he calls him Bibi, his friend Netanyahu, they want to wipe out all the Middle East. They want the Greater Israel Project.
Greater Israel, yeah.
And they can keep releasing the Hannibal Directive, which I actually went over and occupied. So the Hannibal Directive is basically killing your own people and making it seem like it's someone else, which there's been a lot of Hannibal Directives in America too. But this is what Israel's doing, is they're killing their own people, blaming it on this group called Hamas. October 7th. Look, I'll tell you right now, Israel has been wiping out the Middle East for a long time, and they're not going to stop. But they need Trump. They need America. They need the troops of America. They need the weapons in America, and the military to go over and help. I mean, American military border, they secure Israel's borders 10 times better than ours. It makes no sense. I think it's gonna be a point where the military itself, no matter how brainwashed they are, they're the ones that are gonna have to snap out of this. They're the ones, because when they get orders to go kill their own in America, and then what? What are they gonna do that? Are they gonna say yeah, because that's their order, or are they gonna say I can't do that? I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't trust Trump for 1 minute, and neither should you. He's an actor. He's an actor. Let's just be real. He's an actor. Indeed. And he's doing his job.
Sean, that sort of brings us right the way through to our current dilemma within our community of truthers and flat earthers, which is the Gerran thing, the Antarctic debacle, the entire thing from it, and everything that's coming out now, and the flip-flopping and everything else. What's your take on it?
This sun looks weird. It is so bright. It looks white. It doesn't even look like there's orange or yellow to it. So I feel as if, and I'm not going to make excuses for Jaron, because God knows his strategy during this. I don't even want to comment on Jaron, but I'll speak on Austin. I think he was a pawn in this psyop. I think that if you look at the past 5 years in Antarctica, look at the weather. Why has it risen 50 degrees over the last 5 years? How?
Very interesting. Very interesting, that as well.
It is. So I look at it like there's technology in Antarctica we don't even fathom. So if you could imagine Antarctica in darkness, but they project a sun in the sky to make the entire circumference, even 100-mile circumference, bright. We all know how close the firmament really is. It's not far.
Well, they say in Antarctica, there's evidence of it being about 13,500 feet. And something else I found out in Antarctica, which I didn't know, was the low altitude that planes fly in at. No higher than 11,000 feet. And I think that's quite telling. I was unaware of it until I spoke with Dave, obviously, and and yourself. So.
Yeah, but I look at the actual firmament, the ocean above, which is not far away, could be utilized as a screen, as a projector.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with the chemtrails and that white film. Seems like it's always a white film in the sky. It's never crayon blue anymore when you look at the sky. On a clear blue sky, it's never really crayon blue like when I was a kid. It's got this white film. And I think that the chemicals they spray that maybe stay up there longer than we think, they spray so much that it's building this permanent projector screen, which what I think is for blue beam technology and these fake aliens coming, they have to get this screen perfect where they could beam something up and it's, 10,000 feet in the air. It's not hard to do. I looked at Antarctica and I looked for a very long time to figure out what happened. How do they see this light in this? I won't call it the sun. How do they see this light just going around? When you look at any North Pole, which we all agree the North Pole does have a 24-hour sun, and it's been filmed thousands of times. You can see it yourself every year. But when you look at the sun going around when you're watching the North, you'll notice, just like a sunset, similar, but you'll notice the sky. The color of the sky changes tones. It darkens, it lightens. It's a little pink here, a little orange here. You can watch any time lapse of a sunset or any time lapse of the North Pole sun circling. Don't look at the sun. Focus on the sky. It always changes colors. It dims, it brightens. Not in Antarctica.
No, very bizarre.
When the light was going around, especially when it looked like it was going to hit the below the mountain, but it still didn't. First of all, wouldn't the sun be dipping in and out of the horizon to be 24 hours?
No,
now, if you could fathom, and this might be a stretch to some of you guys, and I understand it because this is my thoughts. This is my mind. But if you could fathom a projected light in the sky, right? Call it the sun. They've replicated the shape of the sun, even though as it's circling, it squishes and opens and squishes and opens. But if they projected a sun in a dark spot of Antarctica to light up the blue sky and the ground there, everything would be reacting as above, so below. So everything's lit evenly. Well, so is the sky. There's absolutely no change. Watch any of the time lapses they have. And I've told Austin this, and he's like, you know what? I never thought about that. He goes, I'll have to keep that in mind because he's focused on doing other proofs and scientific things with Antarctica. I told him, I said, you could have easily just been a pawn, man. Duffy had a long time to put this together. Duffy is a sellout piece of shit. He is a fake Christian. He is a demon. And Duffy might have took a deal with NASA or any of these organizations to do this. And I look at, again, back to the 5 years of 50-degree rise in temperature. Maybe they're testing that out for the last 5 years. Maybe they have that technology in Antarctica, and for 5 years they've been testing out this technology, which is what has actually risen the temperature of Antarctica, because you will get heat from it. Don't think it's just a cold projector.
No, I think it's a plasma projection, perhaps onto, if the sky is only 13,500 feet and it's a liquid crystalline structure.
Correct.
Makes good sense,
Well, and that's the thing. And if it sounds far-fetched, I get it. But at the same time, tell me why the sky never changes its tone. It never changes its color. It doesn't. When the sun in Antarctica time lapse was almost, if you guys remember, it almost went below the mountain, then it came back up, right? Just that dip, almost hitting the mountain, the sky would have dimmed completely.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
You could see any footage of any sunset or any 24-hour sun in the north. The sky is going crazy with tones and shades. But if you watch Antarctica again, and I'm sure you will, to see it through my eyes now, the sky is literally evenly distributed the entire time they were there. It never changes colors, which makes me feel like they are projecting a light, and the sky is always going to be lit because it's artificial. It's artificial. So that's my thought. I really do feel like they were there. And they got pawned into, whether Jaron knew or not, that's another story. But they got pawned into being a part of this grand psyop. And then I don't know if Dave Weiss is, and you have talked about this at all, Ian, but there's a guy that works at Microsoft that Dave knows.
Yeah.
And that technology exists, guys. This is not like.
Oh yeah, it's existed for a long time.
Yeah.
To put a plasma ball of light anywhere has existed for a long time. It's not out of the realms of impossibility at all, I don't think. What do you think I mean, since the great, it's got to be a globe now after 10 years of work, of flat earth proofs and devoting yourself to that truth. What do you think the situation is? I mean, he's obviously flip-flopped back to a globe now, and I've been speaking to him up until recently, and we were waiting for him to say, well, it's going to move. And as soon as he started bringing in the motion into it, which he sent me something not too long ago, which was a GIF of the Earth, and he said, well, look, the Earth is only spinning once a day, and he sent me the GIF, and he said, that's 14,000 times faster than the Earth spins. And I thought, you're gone. You're gone. There's something wrong. It's not just the fact now that you're bringing in the fact that you wanted the Ptolemy model or geocentrism. You've now gone on to the movement of it. So somewhere, and he's adamant. He's adamant that that's what it is, and we're all stupid. And he's taking, people. I don't know if he's taking these people. Some people are jumping ship, and we're talking Robbie Davidson. We're talking, Patricia Steer. We're maybe low-hanging fruit, but and there's a few others. There's a few others, and
you've named nobody I've ever thought was credible.
Yeah, well,
but
I'm
just gonna put it out there because I'm me. Mark Sargent's probably next. But my point is this. These people. All right. These people that you named, I love to see their bank transactions the last 3 months. I love to see their incoming deposits. That's what I'd like to see. Why don't you publish that and tell me that there's no money involved with this? Look, to project a sun in Antarctica is how much easier than faking a moon mission? How much cheaper?
How many people do you have to fool? You're fooling the world with that. You're fooling Jaron and Austin, or maybe Jaron's in on it, whatever. You're fooling two people.
Well, I have a feeling now, if I'm a betting man, Jaron took the deal for sure. If I'm a betting man, I'm betting that Jaron took a deal.
I think that's where most of us are with him. And
Jaron really wanted Dave Weiss to go. Dave Weiss didn't want to go. Okay.
Absolutely.
Why? Because Flat Earth Dave sees a light in the sky going around him, and now, what's he going to do? But they set for Austin, and Austin wanted to go and document stuff and see what was going on. Austin and me talked before he went, during his stay, and after. I think Austin's very confused right now, and I don't think any of us want to be labeled as a pawn or that you got fooled. You know the old saying. It's hard.
That's right.
Everybody knows that saying, but I think I'll say it to his face. I think Austin got fooled. And that was a fake sun. That was a whole display. They had years of planning this, years of putting this together, years of testing out this equipment out in Antarctica. Okay. Now, who's to say that if we went to Antarctica right now where they were, that it's dark? Or who's to say that they're just going to keep this technology works fine now? They can keep it there. When anyone comes in to visit the station, they turn that on before the plane's even halfway there. They just turn it on, and you'll see that sun. I would love for someone to go back there now and see what's going on. That's really but remember, the lights in the sky don't determine the shape of the floor. And you can't rule out other luminaries.
No.
I haven't grasped it in the sense of a second sun or anything like that. I know a lot of biblical people push back on another sun, and I respect that. But we just don't know. We don't know whether it's the Bible or a history book. Those are written books by men. Okay.
Very true.
At the end of the day, we don't know what those lights are in the sky, what they're doing, we don't know anything. I love the book Iron Republic because this is a firsthand eyewitness testimony, a book printed in the 1800s of a man that got lost by sea. And now I know why he left a tyrannical states to get the F out of America. He was in New York. Now, when I first read Iron Republic, I didn't know why he was leaving America. But with the old world, now I know. New York was on fire. So the Great Fires were really ramping up at the end of the 1800s in America. They were torching everything. So this guy got in his ship and just took off. Whether he sailed to Africa, he didn't care. He just wanted to get the heck out. And he got lost by sea. And then he started seeing stars he's never seen before. Luminaries in the sky he's never seen before. This is how they got lost. They don't see the same stars anymore. And then they find another continent. And they call themselves the Iron Republic, and it's a great story. And even if you think the book was fake, they were still talking about more land past Antarctica in the 1800s before the treaty. So, it's the unknown for me, man. Until we're able to – here's the thing. I don't really think we can independently explore Antarctica safely. I don't. No. I think there's one way we can, but they've taken that away from us already. Airships. Airships would be the only way to safely travel over there. But even if I want to build my own airship, say I won the lottery and I'm a millionaire tomorrow, I'd be like, I want my own airship parked in my yard. Can't. You need helium. You need a lot of helium. And who has all the helium?
NASA, biggest helium importers ever available.
99% is owned by them and compartmentalized through them. So another reason to start a fake space agency and to capture all the helium, because that's really, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but that's really the only way safely or even period to go explore the South and see what's going on over there. So hope that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. I was just going back to when we were talking about you were talking about a white sky to leave a permanent screen perhaps on there. When I did some research on chemtrails back in the day, one of the things coming out of it is something called strontium. And strontium was used by DARPA specifically to project holograms onto. So, like you say, if they do leave a semi-white or something, even if you can't see it, it's going to be there. And it's easier to... that's exactly what they use. It's strontium. It's a background that they put the hologram onto. So...
yeah, we all know that the firmament's very close to us, near and dear, not far away. Even with those green lasers, you can it looks like it's just always, even though that it's not going that far, those powerful ones, you still have that feeling of when you shoot it up at the sky, like you're actually hitting it. Like it just, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I'm hitting the ocean above with it, even though I can't prove that. But imagine the technology they have. So if they're setting up the strontium and they're doing this giant screen across the entire world, yeah, it's
the only real way I think that they're ever going to be able to pull off a hologram that everybody sees. If the whole of the sky is chemtrail, then everybody gets to see it at the same time. Even if they do the fake Jesus is coming back, everyone can see it, right? So. Yeah.
Well, the Jesus is coming back thing will definitely be a scam, in my opinion, because they wanted to do this Antichrist stuff for so long, and now they got Elon Musk and they got these people with this technology. They're going in our lifetime. It's gonna happen. We're gonna see some crazy shit, guys. Get ready. But at least you're on the side of truth, where you won't have fear come out, because. If everyone in the room was not awakened and you went outside, you could probably have a heart attack. You kidding me? You'd probably have a heart attack. You probably shit yourself. But now at least you will have this mindset of, all right, they're starting this now. We'll see what happens. You'll be more like, I knew this was going to happen. Oh my God. And it's like informing your neighbors, it's not real. Hold on, calm down. Don't have a heart attack. Don't have a stroke over this. But yeah, that's a good point, man, because the strontium is definitely a blanket. It's a giant screen. Same thing with Antarctica. It's not hard to do. Not hard to project something up there, man. It's really, really easy. And
I'm just gonna ask our audience, because you kept them very entertained for an hour and a half. Yeah. Are there any questions here that he hasn't covered in his presentation and his chat that you'd like to ask him? Oh, you've now got the silence of everybody now. They're all quite happy.
No, because no one wants to be first. That's the nature of reality.
Anyway, some of them are trying. They've come a long way, Sean. We've got someone come here today from Aberdeen, which is Scotland, as you may or may not know. And we're right on the south coast, so it's a 400-mile trip that the gentleman's come. And the poor chap's tired. So, are there any questions here? Are we good with any questions that we need, or no? Sean, okay, listen, we're going to wrap it up. Can you just tell everybody here where they can find you, where they can find your films, etc.?
Yeah, HibblerProductions.com. It's really that simple. Everything I do is there. I do have films on Vimeo. I do have films on some on Rockfin, but everything I do is for free, usually on my Rumble or YouTube. Even when I come out with a project and I put it out in 4K high def and it's a couple dollars to rent, that's because I have lights on and I don't want shutting off. That's for bills to be paid, but always know it's always going to be free too. It's always going to be on my YouTube or my Rumble for free. It's just to support me. That's it. Because some people,
if people want to support you though, Sean, is there somewhere they can do that? Is that going straight to HibblerProductions.com or?
Yeah, HibblerProductions.com. I don't even have when I started my website years ago, it's like that PayPal thing where it's like donate, right? Have a donate button, 20, 50, 100 or some I scrapped that because I don't want you giving me even $1 without getting something back. So I set up my website for $2 to $5 range. A lot of them are $2. But if you donate $2, it's because you're going to get a film back that you want to see, right? So you'll never be able to donate to me to help support without getting something back. And that's exactly how I'll always keep it. I don't want a blind $20 donation for no reason. And look, I'll accept it. Who wouldn't accept that? But I feel weird at the end of the day when that happens. I want you to get something that you want. So if you go to the website and you see, I made a film called Hunger Games, about the trafficking and all that stuff. There's a lot of films you never heard of. I can't put them on YouTube, guys. Or if they were on YouTube, they already took them down. So I have these very, very small increment donation buttons underneath each film. So you're always going to get something for helping me. I don't ever want even $1. I don't want it from anyone unless
very noble, mate. Very nice. And you are making some amazing films. Honestly, if you haven't seen Occupied yet, it's tough to get through, but it's a really good film. And, we all look forward to all the stuff in the future, Sean. You're a great truther. You're a good friend. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Sean Hibbler. Sean, we thank you very much, my brother, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much for doing it, Sean. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, everyone. I'm glad no one fell asleep. I appreciate that. I really wanted one question at least, because usually when someone asks one question, then someone else will come. We put in the back.
Hold on. Tony, shout. Stand up and shout.
Hey, look at that. Make some noise for him.
If you stand right where Julie is there. And then if you sit down, son, sit down in the chair, and he can see who you are.
Hi there.
Sam, how you doing, sir?
Sorry, it's going back to the flat Earth experiment, but it intrigues me because we talk about Austin and Whitsitt and Gerard. We don't talk about the third member. The third member is Elizabeth Acosta.
The girl, yeah.
Now, she's totally under the radar. And, I don't know anything about her.
Me neither.
It seems to me that if Will Duffy was being fair, he would think, right, I'll take 3 flat earthers. And if he took 3 high-profile YouTube flat earthers, then you've got the possibility of 2 of them being one side and Gerard being the other. It seems to me that Gerard, yes, was sort of paid off or was definitely going to go that way. And Austin, has gone the other way, and they balance each other out because this third member is never ever mentioned. And I just wondered what your thoughts on it were.
Sure, great question. I like you, have never heard of her. I don't know where she came from. She could be in Duffy's camp for all we know. We don't know. I just don't know who she is. So if she's that third person, in my humble opinion, take this how you want, they settled for her because they couldn't get anybody else willing to go. They invited everyone in my camp. We all declined. Will Duffy? God, I'm not doing anything with Will Duffy. He's a sellout. But I think that they just wanted 3. So I think this was a Jaren thing, in my opinion. Like, oh, I know this girl. She'll come, you know. And as we know, Jaren's reputation coming out now, he's just sending dick pics to all these women, and it's gonna come back. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the demise of Jaren. But remember, for all we know, Jaren maybe was under some investigation with some of that stuff before this started. Maybe the feds had something on him to go.
His wife would be the hardest thing, surely.
Blackmail, right? I mean, that's what they do. That's what they do. So who knows? Jaren could have been under some indictment that we don't know about. And they said, look, Jaren, we can make this all go away if you join us for the final experiment. I mean, you know, we don't know, man. I like, for me, just this girl came out of nowhere. Has anyone even heard from her since? I haven't. I haven't seen one thing she did. You would think if you went to Antarctica, being unbiased, just going there as a flat earther and no one knows who you are, that you would milk this a little, right? Like have your own show now or do something. I've never seen her since. Has anyone in the room seen this?
She's going to be on Strange World tonight.
Oh, I'm sure she will with Mark. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's. Yes.
Is he still in his mom's basement? That's a good look for Flat Earth. Good job, Mark. Yeah. That made the Netflix special even better for us, huh? We'll see. I will not be watching Mark Sargent, but I will definitely look at the highlights at least of her. Now that I know that she's going to be on there, I'd like to hear what she has to say because she's kind of that weak link, that third link where what's going on. But I would love to talk to her, to be honest. Maybe before it's probably too late now. Before she goes on, Mark, let me talk to her. No, too late. Because I would like to put my thoughts in her head in the sense of them projecting a son, and how easy and cheap that would actually be, and very accomplishable to do. And I'm sure all you guys in this room are smart enough to realize they could easily project a son on the firmament. It's not hard to do. So don't rule that out. I don't want you guys questioning Flat Earth or questioning Austin or question Jaren all you want. I have more reasons than just the Flat Earth experiment or the final experiment to question him. But understand where I'm coming from. Austin is a pawn, and maybe this girl's a pawn. Maybe she's also a pawn. I just feel like they had to bring a third. So rather than nobody, they're just. I could be wrong, but isn't that Jaren's friend? I don't think Austin knows her.
I was under the impression they did something like a golden ticket of random people, and I'm trying to work out how they would have done that. And she was lucky enough to get the golden ticket. And you've not heard, I didn't know of her before. I've not heard from her since. It will be interesting to find out what she's got to say because, she may well be in our camp. We don't know. We don't know.
It would. I would just have liked to have talked to her already, just to at least put that idea of a fake son, because maybe she never thought of it. Sometimes when you're a pawn and you get back and you're like, what just happened? What? Like you don't have no way to explain it, but you never thought of how easy it would be to do that and set that up beforehand. But before I go, I'm just looking around the room. Are there any Jewish people in the audience that were offended? Raise your hand.
It's a bit late now, mate, isn't it? It's a bit late for that. No, I don't think so. Did anybody get offended with the Jewish thing? No, we're truthers, man, so we get it.
Oh, the guy in the back raised his hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if I should sell my timeshare in Gaza.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not, because apparently Trump wants to own it all.
going to be worth a fortune.
It might be worth a fortune soon, man. Maybe hold on to that for now because they're doing Build Back Better in Gaza starting soon. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, if there's no more questions, I love questions, but it's all right. You guys don't want to ask questions?
Any more from any more?
It's okay. I'm not offended. I just love questions because you guys don't really know me. I was kind of going all over the place in this conference here. And I really hope I didn't offend anyone religious. I'm not trying to offend you if you're religious whatsoever.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
I just hope that you understand where I'm coming from and I'm a soldier of God. We're on the same team is the point. We're on the same team. And I will continue marching for all of you. And I hope to go down in history as someone that actually changed this world. And I'm not going to stop until I get to that point. So
excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, Sean, thank you very much, my friend. We will go this time, unless there's anybody else with a sneaky picture. No. Thanks again, Sean. We love your work. Good luck with the new stuff. And thanks again. Thanks very much, man.
You guys have a good rest of the night, okay?
Bye, man.